All right. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Hello, I am Sentimus Prime, and here I will be unboxing and basically just like playing around with the Transformers Age of the Primes Leader Class Maximal Big Convoy. All right. So before we go in, well, hello there, DG Stretch. How are you doing? All right. So to start off, I feel like it would be fair to start off with the looking at the packaging. Doing good. This looks like it's going to be a great box. Thank you, and that's pretty good. I'm glad you're doing pretty good. So to start this off, we can, like I said, take a closer look at the packaging. So to start things off, we have a window display of the figure inside. Up here we have some really nice box art of Big Convoy as well as his beast mode. Down here has Transformers written right side up across the mid bottom. Under that is the Age of the Primes subtitle. And down here we have the faction as well as the name of the figure. We also have product officially made by Hasbro. We have an age recommendation as well as the number of steps it takes to transform this figure. So that's nice. Over here on this side, we do have a portion of the like sort of poster art of the toy line, as well as some written text saying that it is a leader class in 4 different languages. And up here we do have Star Convoy, or as they call him in, is it? I guess well, it says it on the packaging, but there'll only be one way to find out, is to crack it open and check it out for ourselves. So, like I said, we have uh, we have Star Optimus Prime, I guess, but more commonly referred to as Star Convoy. Hello, Invisible Boy. How are you doing? Over here we have it. The look of this chest is like very strange to me. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but the like chest details on this like box art for Star Convoy looks to be like that sort of chest details that you would see on like Jinrai or aka Power Master Optimus Prime. It's very strange to me, especially like since the rest of the figure seems to be accurate enough to the actual product. Well, aside from scale with the others. Over here we have Megatronus. He's looking pretty good in a gold statue form. And over here we have one of the 2 like only like primes that have yet to release as of the time of the stream. it was like Leash Maximo. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's Leash Maximo. But enough of that. Let's take a look at the rest of it. Here's a look at the bottom. Not much going on aside from like text and warnings and stuff. On this side, we got a more close-up shot of the robot mode art we see on the front. Still looking pretty good. Name of the Transformers Age of the Primes Maximal Big Convoy. Very nice. Up here on the top is not a whole lot going on up here, but I do appreciate something about an aspect about this detail on the top, because you see you have the like Takara Tomy logo on the corner there, but a like big thing for me is it has the name of the figure on the top of it, so that way if it's like say like a sort of like in the near like behind some other leader class figures at a retail shelf, you can just look at it from the top and see that the figures, see that see the figure you want to get, without the inconvenience of say like having to like file through them as if it's like really thick files in the filing cabinet. So that's nice. Yes, I do agree with you. The box art does look really good. Definitely something I could see like definitely it's like a nice sort of like anime kind of style. I do like that. It makes sense, especially with the origin of like this particular figure. Down here on the back, we do have some render shots of the figure himself, as well as his beast mode, as well as some like other like words, like other like words and stuff, warning labels and stuff. But also, it says on the back again, 29 steps. We'll definitely see that soon enough. And up here it shows like a little demonstration like image of him using one of his more iconic weapons. So that's nice. But with that, it is now time to open it. Drink some water. Do apologize with the sniffles and stuff. I am getting over a bit of a cold, a bit of like a phlegm, a bit of like a phlegm thing, but it should be fine. So with that, let's get this open. So there's a piece of tape that holds the box up here together, so we can just slice it. Like I said, slice into that. There we go. Have that closed for now because you should not leave your X-Acto knife open when not in use. With that, let's get this open. Couple flaps down there. Pull this out. There's also some stuff in there. Alright, so let's close that up and set that to the side for now. Here we have the instructions, the little instruction booklet flippy thing. Shows it shows all 29 steps that it is. Shows all 29 steps that is advertised on the box. So we can definitely keep track of that, as well as a piece of paper that likely no one cares about. It's just some warnings in many different languages. We can just set that off to the side. I do agree, the booklet is most definitely helpful, especially with like the first couple or few times like transforming the figure. For that, look at that. That looks pretty good. Let's open this again so we can get some parts open. Let's start. Why not? Let's start off with cutting this open. There's a package of accessories held together by some tape. We can get that open. No big deal. Remember to cut away from your fingers. Like that. So let's take a quick look at the accessories. There's another piece of, okay, never mind. There's another piece of tape having this bag like folded in. Interesting. There we go. Let's close that up. And this is what is interesting to me, like packaging wise, because for a good like bit, like I believe they started doing that. I believe because like for a good bit they had like the modern Transformer stuff had their accessories packaged in Autobot logo covered like paper wrapped burritos. Whereas here, you have like a plastic little baggie with an air intake hole and the accessories. That is interesting to me, considering they had a lot of sets with the Autobot like paper burrito stuff accessories. Interesting. I've seen other figures on store shelves that had this too. It's like a more recent thing, I guess. Make sure you don't lose. If you're talking about the accessories or possibly the X-Acto blade, I totally agree with you. It would not be great to accidentally lose your X-Acto blade. But in here, we have 5 accessories packaged in here. We got 2 of these, which appear to be like little like harpoon anchor missile things. They're cast in this like rather nice red. They have a couple of 5mm pegs, each here on the side as well as on the back, towards the back. And as far as I can tell, these look identical. Next we have this sort of Desert Eagle, like anime sort of like a pistol weapon. It's definitely has a good amount of sculpting to it. Does look a little bit like waffled, like waffle molded on both ends, but on both sides. But it seems to have the blast effect compatibility on the front, which we can go ahead and attach with a non-included blast effect. A little bit loose there, but could fit. As for the more rubbery kind of ones, it does fit. So you can use this for like some blast effect like compatibility, which is nice. And then we have these accessories. We have what are going to be the tusks for it. And as far as I can tell, these are not the same part, but in fact mirrored from each other. Very nice. Very nice. Got some nice feeling accessories. So let's go ahead and open this up and cut open the rest of the figure. This is held together by 2 of those, in my opinion, annoying little plastic ties. And here we have what seems to be the what seems to be the kibble for the beast mode. Here's how it looks from underneath. You can see the like big like anime like blaster launcher gun from underneath, and on the top is beast mode kibble. Okay. Okay. Now for the main figure himself. We have away from the figure to hopefully not damage anything on the figure. Oh, that one was being, the torso was being held together by two of those things. Alright. Before we look at that, let's remove these little plastic things from the backdrop. Which, by the way, the backdrop of this looks rather nice in my opinion. It looks like a night sky. It looks like a night nice like starry night sky, like in like a blue nebula sort of thing. Looks rather nice. I do like that. But we can go ahead and either set it off to the side or have this back here for extra detail in the video or stream. And after we sweep those out of the way, here we have the main figure himself. Here we have Big Tomboy. Has like a lot of really good details on it. Looks rather nice. But from a first glance, looks really good. Got some very nice matte like finished sort of painted areas, which is like really cool. And we also seem to have a more like asymmetrical style of decoing, as well as like plastic color on the arms. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Here's how he looks from the back. And I must say, like between the heft from like the beast mode parts to the solid looking the overall like solid kind of look from the back, looks really interesting. Looks really nice. Very nice. Let's go ahead and like have this guy like in a more like presentable state, I guess. Like there's like a random sort of hinge here, which we can fold. Let's see if we can. Okay, those can hinge out of the way somewhat. Oh man, the neck joint on mine is seemingly very, very tight. Sorry about that. But as I was saying, I like very stiff neck joints. I would, with a neck joint that stiff, I would definitely be, at the very least, cautious with the sort of horns on the side of his head, as to not accidentally break them off. But let's try to go ahead and like try to fit some other parts here. These what appear to be beast mode legs seem to be on this sort of swivel and like this sort of double hinge, like multi-hinge, like paneling thing, which we can of course try to fit together, and that looks a bit more cleaner. Okay. Very interesting. Let's go ahead and take a and try to see like what the tolerance is on the joint. The head, as I mentioned before, very stiff, but ooh, that waist joint is really nice. That's a nice solid waist joint. I like that. That looks a little bit better in my opinion. Okay. A little bit heavy with a little bit of the kibble in there, but thankfully there's a very long, like with a very wide like foot base here. So at the very least we don't have to worry about having the figure fall over, because he has a really nice solid foot base, which is always appreciated. But back to the articulation. The forward and back movement here feels nice and feels decent on both. Ooh, it has butterfly joints. They both feel nice, but I do notice that this one here on his left side appears to be ever so slightly more tight compared to this one, but they're both very nice and solid. Do appreciate that. Outward movement feels nice on both. I do feel a little bit more sort of that like a little bit of that stooping here on this arm, but I don't feel it's anywhere near as much on this arm. But they both, but the shoulders move out. The outward movement on both shoulders are adequate. They are decent. Bicep rotation feels good on this one. Not too tight, not too loose. This one feels a little bit tighter. Yeah, this one feels a little bit tighter, but not by much. Elbow movement. Okay, this one has that same like subtle like stoopness as the shoulder up here, but on the other arm I don't feel it anywhere near as much. Okay, a little bit of asymmetry, not too bad. Hand rotation on this side feels really nice, very solid and smooth. On this side, not as smooth, and honestly it feels a little bit tighter, but it's still perfectly adequate. Still adequate. The back and forth movement on here feels nice and solid. Feels decent on this side too. We're probably going to have to move these panels upward a little bit to get a demonstration of the spread movement, which feels decent. It feels decent on both. Sorry about that. Feels decent on both. The outward movement feels decent on both. Thigh rotation here feels good. Here feels pretty much as good. You do get a little bit of like hollowness because of like where they had to, from like the molding of it, but it's not too bad. It's barely noticeable. It's only like between the legs, and there's still an interesting amount of detail in there from the mushroom peg, double mushroom peg anyway. So it doesn't look too bad. But the legs from the back look fairly solid, as well as the like other back details. Those are rather nice. I do notice that there's also a sort of below the knee swivel, as well as a thigh rotation. So feels decent on this side. On this side, feels a little bit tighter, but still adequate. But yeah, I do sense that there's some interesting like posability options like that can be done with this. But I have a feeling that this may become a little bit of an inconvenience when just like messing around and posing around the figure. But it shouldn't be too bad. Very nice. The knees feels solid on both. That's nice. And then the ankle tilts. This one feels really good, but this one feels slightly looser than I would like, but it is not too bad. It still holds. It still seems to hold. And then trying to mess around with the other. Ooh, apparently has a little bit of a. It seems to have a transformation hinge that would allow the toe to move upward, which would be nice if it was at all usable in the robot mode. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be usable in like robot mode. But still nice. You can probably open it. You can open it up a little and be able to use it that way. But for the most part, it might not be as accessible. And with that, we also have like other like transformation hinges and stuff that also feel decent. Sorry about that. Okay, like these feel decent enough. They feel pretty decent. Like transformation hinges and stuff up here feel adequate. Oh, these bits of kibble up here appear to be the like parts for the beast mode head. That is interesting. That's pretty cool. Very interesting design choices. It sort of makes him look like he's like wearing a sort of like hide skin, like kind of like some Vikings would do, and like other like historical kind of things with. And it definitely seems more obvious here on the box art. I can definitely see that kind of inspiration from this. Looks really nice. Looks very interesting. Looks like kind of a definitely very interesting. Very neat. So now we can try to attach some accessories and before we get into that, I want to see if the instructions point out that these are in fact mirrored. Okay. That's the transformation instructions, and apparently the antlers on the hand can hinge. Okay. He can also attach his antlers onto these 5mm connections here under his forearms. Okay. Doesn't seem to be obvious. Let's see if I can attach. Doesn't seem the instructions don't seem to outright mention that these are in fact mirrored. So let's try to attach them ourselves, without the cumbersome use of the. No, doesn't seem right. Well, that definitely seems better. So, I imagine that's. We have little gap fillers for the antlers. I didn't notice that till now. That looks very nice, very solid. Alright. These can, of course, swivel around because they're just connected by the rungs. Interesting. Let's go ahead and try drinking some water. Alright. We could attach the gun onto the hands, obviously. Feels solid on this. Feels like he's gripping it well in that hand. And it doesn't feel as snug, doesn't seem as snug on this hand, but it's definitely adequate. For this one, feels pretty good. For this one, feels adequate. This one feels adequate. And this one feels pretty decent. Okay. Very interesting. Let's try to see where else we can try to attach this. Does the instructions say where? The instructions tell me that you can put these attaches onto his hands like little daggers, like that. I don't want to do that. So instead, we'll try. Okay, so let's turn this around, and the instructions say we attach the gun onto this 5mm hole in the back. I guess either that or probably in straight like that. The instructions say have it off to the side like that. Interesting choice of weapon storage, but alright. Oh wait, there's a place where we can attach the... Oh, this hinges outward. I guess as a place to attach the kibble. I guess we attach this hole onto this connection. We can definitely try to do that. Let's see if we can have this attached towards the back. I can't seem to do it right now, but it looks like it could do it. Just almost there. That's not that important right now, so let's try to see like where we can... Even on his back, he's standing on his feet. That very interesting. Very leaning forward a little bit because he seems to be a little bit back heavy, and I have a feeling that attaching this on him would just make that back heaviness a little bit worse. This side is for the transformation. And this side is for all the like gimmicks and stuff that's included in here. From attaching this onto his back to attaching these antlers onto his forearms. Oh, we can try that. Is there another place we can attach the... Oh, okay. Again, sorry about that. Apparently we can flip these out and attach these into the sides of the legs. Then fold that back in. To not only fill in the little gaps a little bit, but also provide a little bit of extra weaponry. That's neat. Ooh, this one feels a little bit too snug. Which should definitely be adequate. Definitely be careful with that. That looks pretty good. It definitely adds a little bit of the extra pop of red towards the leg, down towards the legs. Very nice. Very nice. Hello, the King Mousy. How are you doing? Dude, I saw Grimlock with Wheel. Ah, funny you should mention that. Because I've also saw Razor Claw at my local Walmart. But I chose to grab this figure over that one for, well, mostly like money reasons, like money restraint reasons. But I definitely think that this one definitely looks pretty good. So was a repackage. I've definitely heard about that. All right. Let's see what other. It also mentioned something of, oh, look at that. So if you open the forearms up, you have this part that flips out and goes back up, and you have a sort of a melee sort of like taser kind of weapon. Could also be like a gun of some sort. Let's try to attach some blast effects. Oh, too small for that. Let's try. No, it's too small for that. I guess it's some sort of like taser or blunt weapon of some sort. Yeah, he has it on both arms. He has it on the undersides of both arms. So he can tase you. So Big Tomboy can tase you with his forearm mounted weapons. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I will say the amount of paint on this figure is honestly pretty crazy. I have a lot of interesting details and stuff, like from the chest to the asymmetry of the arms to the head to the legs, and even on like the shoulders. Like feels very. Feel feels very nicely painted. Does have some reasonably. Does have some seemingly durable plastic paint on them. I guess durable plastic too. But something I am also impressed with. He definitely feels hefty. Heavy. Well, optimal Optimus. But by the way, I have one. I have the original Optimal Optimus, but one of his cannons was ripped off. That is unfortunate, but I am glad now you got your hands on a original Optimal Optimus. Okay, and I guess we can try the like antler, like forearm gimmick sort of thing. Doesn't look. It looks like a very interesting like hook weapon on this arm. Let's see if they're meant to be just like swapped around. That looks interesting too. Okay. Like not. It's like not the antler like forearm things is not something that I would personally like prefer over the built-in ones, but it's definitely like cool to have as an option. That's nice. Let's see what else it has. Oh, okay. Didn't even notice that. So apparently, his chest can open up to reveal a a nicely detailed matrix of leadership. Is it? Yeah, that is. It's not only that it. Wow, look at that. That has a good amount of like gold paint on it. Very interesting, and the details in the chest look rather, rather, rather really cool. Look pretty cool as well. And this closes up, and because he does have some real nice like shoulder articulation, he can attach. We can plug the matrix into his arms, into his hands. Look at that! I probably do not have to touch nor the power, but this guy definitely does. Big Tomboy here definitely does. rather really nice. Definitely a good definitely a good detail to throw in. A good thing to throw in as for the original, especially considering like the significance of like this version of the Matrix in like toy form. Because for those who don't know, the original big tomboy figure from Beast Wars Neo, from the Beast Wars Neo toy line, was was the first was I believe the first transformer design that was specifically designed to have a removable matrix. And it's honestly really nice that they were able to replicate to this feature here for this newer release, more modern release. That is really nice. the first, I believe it was. Dude, why are Legos so overpriced these days? I have Protector of Stone. He used to be 10, but saw the prob so so now he probably goes for double the price. And also battle packs apparently are $40. Oh, you're talking about the you're probably talking about like the 2015 Pohatu set. Yeah, it may seem like and for that like it in that case those sets are more expensive now than they were at release at retail because they were like discontinued and uh, they have and they also had like some demand for them. They also had like a decent amount of demand, so of course they're going to go up in price in that case. It's definitely like a case of the demand makes the figure that was discontinued more expensive because more people want it, you see. This is like definitely a this is like definitely a it's like definitely like a deal had had to meet with Megatron. What kind of deal? Is it very cool, very cool. And something else he can and something else he can do is he has it's like this some kibble assembly right here can also be converted into some sort of crazy weapon. So let's for now reattach the matrix into there. Really nice. Let's okay, what's going here? So apparently oh okay. So apparently for like the kibble thing, this is on a sort of double hinge, which is also attached to a ball joint, so you can rotate them around. Let's see what else. So this can flip. So this portion can flip up. You can then flip this up, sort of forming a sort of stack folding on it. And there's also a bit of a flip out handle there. Oh, interesting. Look at that. A sliding joint in a modern figure. Alright. Good, that comes off. Okay, reattach this, so definitely, that definitely does not go more forward than that. And because these bits of cable are on ball joints, we can of course rotate around and sort of like compress it a little bit to have the cable a little bit cleaner. Such a weird design, but it's definitely Let's take a look at this. Let's see how it attaches to his hand. Not too bad. Oh, and would you look at that? He actually seems to hold it pretty well, even without the aid of the sort of stack folding. But of course, this can flip out for a bit of extra stability if someone feels that this huge cannon, this huge anime like launcher, is a bit too heavy for this. But to be honest, between between the good stiffness of the joints and between the good stiffness of the joints and the fact that the launcher doesn't seem to be as ridiculously heavy as it may appear, it definitely it like that is very interesting. He definitely has the sort of stack folding to hold this big kibble cannon up, but he honestly doesn't need it. A deal that would traumatize Transformers 2007 fans. Alright. Again, what kind of deal would that be? Like, did you, like, paint, like, one of the, like, 2007, like, Transformer figures? Or, like, what is this deal that you talk about? The King, Mousy? That is, and even shaking them around a good bit will definitely overcome the strength of the joints. But he holds it very well. I am actually surprised with that. But for now, let's go ahead and keep this here since I don't want the joints to be loosened up too much. It's definitely good that Big Tomboy is able to hold up this big anime cannon with one hand and no problem. But I definitely recommend either leaving this off when you're displaying when you have this figure on display, or B, if you do want him displayed with this cannon, definitely use the stack folding as to not loosen up the joints over time. Man, that is crazy. That is honestly kind of crazy because, like, this figure is absolutely filled to the brim with the gimmicks inspired from the original figure. It is honestly, like, really crazy. And to think that I was not considering, and the thought that I was considering to not get this figure, man. That is some intense work right there. That is an intense. Goodness, this figure. Goodness. And another thing to probably mention is I have also mentioned from some, like, YouTubers that have or at the very least ones who react to leak listings, like leaked images and stuff like that. Like mentioned that mentioned that the kibble seems too cumbersome. But to be honest, I don't see that. The kibble, at least at the very least on the main figure, feels feels like all the kibble has like a solid place to go. A solid enough place to go. We can go ahead and put that back up. Use attach pistol to hand. Goodness. This is honestly really pretty crazy. I believe there's also and with that is pretty much it as far as the instructions mentioned. But I have seen a couple of people on YouTube do some other things with the Convoy. Oh, it also has backward shoulder movement, so that is interesting. And honestly, looks more natural than the forward one. That's not too. That's pretty interesting. It scoops in very satisfying. I assume that's some sort of transformation joint. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, and okay. The neck is still a little. Huh, that is interesting. So I'm moving the neck around and it doesn't feel as tight as it was before. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm moving it, have it out of the packaging, have him out of the packaging and moving around. Well, and while it definitely still feels a little bit tighter than I would like, it definitely is a way more manageable now than it was before. And by the way, gold painted eyes. Give it one of these. Because that looks excellent. Almost looks like his eyes are glowing, reflecting off the light. That is honestly a pretty cool effect. Dude, I probably need to watch some Beast Wars Neo, just to figure out more about this character. Because this is looking really impressive. That's a battery charge. Ooh. Let's attach the cord before it's too late. So with that, what do you people thinking about this figure so far? I honestly think that this figure looks great. This figure is great. It feels well put together. It feels incredibly hefty. That's really nice. He appears to have details for. He appears to have details for machine gun barrels on the sides of his waist, sides of his hips. Are these Wasp-Fit compatible? No, they're way too small. That would have been cool. That is. Is there something else I can do with it? So what if I tried to flip these legs forward? okay, doesn't lock in, which means like it's definitely not meant to be. Which means like it's definitely not meant to be like this. It's like not a very intentional one, but look at that! Like rocket thruster like details like on the bottom of the piece, as well as a 5mm port. Is this blast effect compatibility? That looks great. And this is something that wasn't. By the way, this is something that was not mentioned in the instructions at all. This is like a fan mode kind of thing. And I believe, and as far as I can tell, might also would surprise me if this was also a feature that the original toy had. That is incredible. Man, that is really good. I enjoy that. So that looks really sick. Are these ones don't these smaller ones don't look to be less compatible of any kind? That's still really cool. You're able to even. You know what this part? You know what this reminds me of? Would anyone like to give a guess what this would remind me of? For those who don't want to, for those who don't, man. The fact that you can use the kibble, like wow, the fact that you can like use the kibble as like extra weaponry, like that is stuff that would remind me of like figures like Siege Optimus Prime, where yes he had some like weird kibble on him, but the fact was like the kibble wasn't all that intrusive, and the kibble actually was like very useful. It was actually like really fun to mess around with as like imaginary weapons. It was really cool. And to be honest, this figure kind of has that same vibe with me, where he has kibble, which may seem a little bit awkward in some places, but the fact is, like, the fact that you're able to like use the kibble as like extra weaponry, absolutely amazing, in my opinion. That is really nice. That is really good. And it can easily be like flip back and like folded up to like normal for its like normal configuration. You can also hinge. Sorry about that. You can also hinge these upwards to make a more solid look. That is awesome. What? You're telling me that this toy? You're telling me that like this toy, this big hefty leader class toy, it can manage its kibble so elegantly? That is beautiful. To me, that to me at the very least is beautiful. Let's try to put these back up. And apparently something I've also almost like forgot about is that these bits of kibble here can be flipped up to form missile pods. Yeah, missile pods. And do these like tab in somewhere? I don't think so, but you can like just as easily like rest them on like these pieces. I'm sorry about that. You can just as easily like rest them, have them sit there in a very cool fashion. That is incredible. That looks awesome. Not gonna lie, that looks incredible. Goodness. This this big tomboy, sorry, not Optimus, big tomboy, is so armed to the teeth with so many weapons, so much weapons. Which honestly makes sense for the character, from what I've heard. Definitely makes sense for the character, from the show that I've heard. That is incredible. That is awesome. man, man, that is really good. But I guess with that, I pretty much have talked enough about the robot mode. It just looks so cool. Like man. this this is awesome. This is great. That was beautiful. Now it is time to transform him. Okay. Let's see if we can transform from here. Let's start off with like the kibble first. Try to flip up the kibble back like it once was before. That is really cool. You can't just okay, these pieces just accordion back in, tap right in into the solid spots. Feels good. The texturing. Something else I'm noticing is that the like fur texturing for this looks pretty good. Let's put the what's going to be the trunk down, and let's slide that back in. Locks in place well enough, and that's like the kibble, like it's from the cannon. Okay. Now it's time for big Convoy himself. So the first step says to have these like in this orientation. Okay. Second step, rotate the head so that the back is facing towards the front, towards the camera. Next step, fold these in. I still do recommend to be careful with these. They do stoop into the two positions rather nicely. But I do recommend being careful with the horns. They might, if you're not careful, they might break on you. Is it telling me to rotate these more? Like that? That honestly doesn't make much sense. Because wouldn't I just like have it, wouldn't I just That honestly doesn't make much a whole lot of sense to me because when I just like move it from this position to say this position, maybe instead of trying to rotate it the long way around. So honestly, that looks more like an unnecessary step. It already looks closer to 28 steps than it does 29. Apparently we can rotate these this way and slide them together like that. That's all well and good. Okay. Next step, sort of flip, sort of like rotate this over the head. Okay. Then rotate the arms. Straighten out and rotate the arms, and then move them up this way. And then what we do is we turn it around. Utilize the backwards butterfly joint. And what's going to happen is these pegs are going to peg into what appears to be those slots in there. Those slots. See, those slots, I believe these pegs are going to go in there. So, that and that. Okay? Then what we do is we flip these down. I'll also flip them around. Okay. And then hinge these large panels upward so that I guess these slots would be plugged into these pegs. Let's do that. Ooh, do that with the other side. Okay. Then so step 13 is to flip these pieces of kibble outward. Straighten out the legs. 14 is to then not rotate, but we might have to remove these. So step 14 is to rotate the shins this way and plug them together because they have alternating tabs that you can just fit together. This step is slightly more challenging. Okay. Then flip the toes up for transformation. Have them fit into those cavities. And then I guess untap these and fit them back like that. That's weird. Oh, and then we rotate the legs in like this. So to keep in mind, we're using the below the knee swivel for this step, not the thigh rotation. So we rotate them inwards like this, and then tab the pigs back together. There is some weirdness, but I do like it. Oh, step 18 is just to tab them in. Okay. And then what's going to happen is we use the knee bends to bend this portion this way, and now we're starting to get a look at what that is. And what's next is there's apparently a ball joint. Hold on. We're supposed to rotate. Seems to be tapped in somehow. Oh, they are. So back here, this piece of kibble are tapped in by these posts and these pegs. That is pretty cool. A nice solid piece, and then the ball joint. Then you can use the ball joint inside to rotate to this upward around like that. Then after that, we can use the hinge in there. To hinge this forward, and then plug this kibble into the side like that. I believe this. So this port, I guess, fits over this peg. Like that, I guess. And that fits nicely, and you can just move. And then the same goes for the other side. And there's also other places it taps in as well. Hold on. Okay, I see. I didn't have this hinge in properly, I guess like that. Also, something that helps is making sure that these are still tapped in together. Then after that, we take these pieces, rotate them this way, and then have them plug in like so, like that. A nice hefty kind of transformation. Then after that, we can hinge these heels into the rear feet. Apparently, there's like weapons. Oh, you're telling me I didn't have to remove these pieces from the side? I guess I still do need to remove those. No, those won't fit in there. But there's some really nice details from the looks of it. That's some good details. I guess the gun just plugs into one of those ports like that for weapon storage. Admittedly, pretty good weapon storage. Alright. And then after that, we can rotate the arms downward and have them plug into these two spots using these two connections to plug into these two spots. Same for the other side. Okay. Then after that, we take this, which it's saying that like you need to like you have the trunk like orientated a specific way, but to be honest, it's honestly not that big of a deal. You then take this whole thing and basically just fit it over here. It plugs into multiple different areas, including the butt flap tabs, like tab in 4 different spots. These two tabs on either end into these slots. These two edges, like indents over these two tabs. And then there's tabs here on what's going to be the head. Like these, and they just have them over here. There's a lot of tabbing, which makes sense. Let's try to tab it in. And then just pose that around. That's not like considered a step. And for a big reveal, we open up the ears. That looks so. And like the actual like last step in this process is to plug in the antlers. But to be honest, if you have it like, if you're like me, you're likely not gonna move these around all that much. So honestly, that's. But however, you could like rotate them around to have them as a more natural orientation. And as far as weapon storage goes, I believe I probably could fit these into. I can. Okay. So I can fit those in those circle round areas, then plug this over that, like so. And with that, here we have Big Convoy. And it is absolutely hefty mammoth mode. I will say there were at least a couple of more unnecessary steps, I would call. So it honestly feels more like a 27 step figure or 26 step figure. And honestly, I'm not that mad. Because let's move this out of the way so I can absolutely adore this cute. Oh my goodness! Look at the face. Oh my goodness! It looks so cute. looks so cute. And with the flappy ears, oh, that is so absolutely beautiful. The fur texture is like fairly consistent around the figure. Everything seems to lock in really nicely. Very hefty. The underside. Take a look at the underside. Well, yes, we can see the robot mode, like especially under here, but also a little bit on the back and a little bit towards the front. Honestly, for most like angles, this thing looks incredible. Looks like a beautifully sculpted little mammoth. Absolutely adorable. Adorable. Aw. And from what I can tell from articulation, the the tail can hinge in and out a little bit, so it could be as flushed, so it could be flushed with the rest of the back, or it could be like fully, uh, or it could be like a fully hinged out to like let you know he's taking a dump, I guess. The antlers, I guess, because they're on pegs, they can rotate around, but I'm not probably not going to be rotating all that much. The front legs can hinge back and forth, can hinge forward a good bit. Look, even more adorable like that. That is so adorable. The trunk has a hinge up here, so it has a hinge up, so it has a hinge back here, a hinge up here, and a hinge I can like, and a hinge up here. And what appears to be a cute little mouth details. But for me, well, unfortunately, because the front toes are like locked in place, the back feet are the back legs are completely immobile because of how well tapped together this figure is. This beast mode is. But for me, the most impressive piece of articulation, and the one that makes the most sense to me, the flappy ears. You can fold into like a little shy, a little cute, or you can have them out like this, or have them flip back a little bit. Looks adorable. That's adorable. You have them forward like that a little bit. That is so cute. And let's try to hinge up the trunk a little bit so we can. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That looks so adorable. Sorry about that. Is the underside pretty good? But oh man, this beast mode looks adorable. And pretty hefty too. Let's see if the head can still extend. So yeah, because you say from the looks of it, yeah, because of how it's locks into, how it's tapped in. There's no articulation in the head, but to me, honestly, that's no big deal. It's just a lovely, just a lovely, like, just a lovely, like, big brick of a mammoth, big brick of an animal. It's so, it looks so cute too. Like, look at how the eyes are painted. That looks adorable. And the texture, the fur texture around around everywhere does look to be very nice. It doesn't look like a giant melted chocolate elephant, nor does it look like a lump of like manure. It looks like very a, a very fluffy mammoth. And I'm very pleased with that. That is adorable. That is that's so adorable. So, and I guess with that, that's honestly pretty much it for this figure. I finally showed off everything this figure can do, and to be honest, well, I guess almost everything. I still wasn't able to peg it in the back, but that's like a weapon storage kind of thing, so it's honestly not that big of a deal. But yeah, like for this figure, like first impressions of this figure is absolutely adorable. It's like really impressive. It's honestly like a really impressive fate, like nice hefty figure. Because in robot mode, not only does it look really good, not only does it pose pretty well, but it also but whatever kibble it has is like uses it, uh, like Big Tomboy just uses it to his advantage. It is honestly, and also the fact that he was like so like absolutely armed to teeth with like with like gimmicks and weaponry and stuff. It was like really, really nice, really nice. Transformation was it was a good amount of complexity. There wasn't really anything that felt like too complex or too like fiddly. And overall, it did like some does like some pretty clever things with its kibble management. It's like really nice, real nice. And the mammoth mode is absolutely adorable. You are so adorable. I'm so glad I got you. You are a very nice, hefty figure. And everything walks together real nicely, and also it's just so hefty, both in mammoth mode as well as robot mode. Oh man. So of course I might do a. This isn't like this. Honestly, isn't meant to be like an unboxing and review kind of thing, because like this is honestly just me like messing, opening up and messing around with a figure. I want something I honestly want to do is cut back on like unboxing like videos and leave and leave that more towards live stream stuff. Absolutely brilliant. And while the mammoth mode isn't like crazy on articulation, I feel like it. I feel like it. I feel like what little articulation it does have honestly makes sense for a mammoth elephant kind of beast mode. It has all the articulation I would expect from something like this. It's absolutely adorable. So overall, this figure, honestly, I know this ain't a review, but I do highly recommend this. It looks absolutely brilliant, and the way his like gimmicks work and the fact that he keeps so much, the fact that this figure would feel like a feels like very it feels like it feels modern, but it also feels classic. It also feels like a nice classic figure, and I believe that is supposed to be the idea with this figure at least, because they kept so much engineering and detail from and gimmickry from the original toy from Beast Wars Neo, and just like modernized his like articulation and like textures and like details and stuff. Honestly, really nice, really good. I could probably do like a full review of this figure at some point, but for now, I guess that's pretty much it for this live stream for this unboxing and like messing around kind of thing. So if you and I guess with that that'll be it for the live stream. If you enjoyed the live stream, consider to like and subscribe and maybe even interact with the chat if you want. I plan to make at least one live stream a week during the weekends, either on like Saturday or Sunday, possibly possibly Monday, possibly Friday. But I expect to you can expect at least one live stream per weekend at like 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I definitely do have a lot of like stuff I can mess around with. I have like ideas for other for like other things. So if you like that, if that's like something you'd be interested in, and like if that's if that's something you would be interested in, that would be I'd say this would be I'd say you'd probably have a good time with this if you enjoy the kind of stuff that I would like mess around with, just like play around, mess around, like just like in live streams and stuff. Honestly, yeah. If you enjoyed it, consider to like and subscribe. Maybe even check out some other live streams. Maybe check out some upcoming live streams. Maybe I possibly look forward to maybe some videos at some point soon, maybe or sooner or later. And yeah, like overall, I'm just trying to have a good time on YouTube. So that's me, Sentimus Prime. You have a good one. You have a good night.